Good evening, folks. Welcome to a Wednesday night. It is December 15th at 6 p.m. and this is the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission monthly meeting at night to try to accommodate folks that cannot visit with us during the day. We will start our meeting with the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bogue. Here. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner Hackett. Commissioner McGowan.
Here.
Commissioner Mesner.
Here.
Commissioner Nanjapa.
Here.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 out of 7 commissioners present.
Great. Okay. I want to kind of mix up the agenda a little bit. I don't see all of our public commenters here yet, but a couple are starting to join us. If commissioners are okay with it, what I thought we might do is allow folks to continue to sort of weigh in and get with us, and maybe in the interim we could do the consent agenda if folks were okay with that. And so with that, we had 2 matters on consent agenda, one involving PDC and one involving Verdad, and they both were spacing matters, I believe. Does any commissioner have questions with regard to consent agenda? All right, seeing no questions, do we have a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second on consent agenda to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. All right. Probably gonna have a short meeting tonight. We only had 3 people sign up for public comment. I would note for the record that we did get a written public comment from Maya Bovigno, and we've all read that. Appreciate the written public comment. The public commenters signed up in order: Heidi Leithwood, Ben Burke, and Joanne Hackus. And I do see that we have Mr. Burke and Miss Hackus with us at this point. So Ms. Larson, if you would like to elevate Mr. Burke to the panel, we will hear from Mr. Burke. It is a night meeting, so each individual has 5 minutes to speak with us this evening. Since we only have a few individuals, and if folks need to go a little further, we'll probably be okay with that so that we can hear from the folks that took time out of their evening to speak with us. Mr. Burke, I see you're now with us. If you want to unmute.
Thank you very much.
Oh, we can see you. Hello.
Yep. Let me know when you're ready for my comment.
We are ready for your comments, Mr. Burke. Thank you for being with us.
Director Murphy and Chairman Robbins and commissioners, thank you for your time and for your service. My name is Ben Burke, and I'm the co-founder and chief technology officer of Transitional Energy, a geothermal company based here in Colorado. In the matter of financial assurance rulemaking regarding orphan wells and end-of-life wells, I'm before you today to recommend that the COGCC introduce a geothermal screening process for those wells before the plugging process begins. So where it's safe and technically appropriate, these wells can be reused for power generation or direct use, providing baseload renewable energy power for Colorado. Reuse of these wells and the infrastructure is a capital efficient opportunity to use the heat beneath our feet for the common good. More broadly, the development of the geothermal industry in Colorado, using existing wells and infrastructure, furthers the COGCC's mission, provides a just transition for oil and gas workers, particularly in the field, and creates distributed baseload renewable power that is on all the time. This is particularly advantageous for hitting state, municipal, and utility-based renewable energy portfolio goals, and providing local renewable power for electric vehicle charging infrastructure, particularly in rural areas. I'll touch on some of these points in greater detail in my time. The heat beneath our feet is considerable. In the DJ Basin in the northeastern part of our state, the temperatures down around 9,000 feet are in the 250 to 300 degree range, which is ideal for power generation using proven off-the-shelf technology called organic Rankine cycle engines, or ORCs for short. They kind of run like air conditioning units in reverse to generate electric power from hot fluids. ORCs are small and modular, in footprint, and they'd fit well onto existing well pads without the need for any greenfield land use. Parts of the western slope and the Raton Basin down in the south and southeast have even higher temperatures at similar depths. The cost of these ORC units in terms of dollars per kilowatt of nameplate capacity has dropped 50 to 80% in the past decade. So the opportunities that were non-economic 10 years ago are economic now. This is not the traditional geothermal found in volcanic parts of the far west, but rather this is pragmatic renewable energy for the energy transition. Reusing orphan wells and end-of-life wells for geothermal heat and power involves the same set of skills that current oil and gas professionals, whether in the office or the field, use in their current day-to-day activities. The transitioning of these wells to geothermal can provide a just transition for a highly skilled workforce that would otherwise need to find more indirect applications for their skills, and it would keep that expertise in state. And finally, the geothermal screening process for orphan and end-of-life wells need not be onerous or time-consuming. Fluid temperatures of at least 160 Fahrenheit at the ORC unit and flows of at least 1,600 barrels a day, whether from one well or aggregated from several, are the minimums needed, as well, of course, appropriate wellbore integrity. That's really it. So I thank you very much for your time in considering adding a geothermal screening process to the financial assurance rulemaking regarding orphan and end-of-life wells, and not just plugging them straight away. I'll cede the rest of my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. You didn't mention, but would the screening, would that allow the opportunity to determine whether the well could be a candidate for this concept?
The screening absolutely would, whether it's done by a state agency or whether it's a regulatory checklist, essentially, done by an oil and gas operator, would run through that checklist of wellbore integrity, and then the heat and temperature minimums that would allow it to be used either for power generation or for direct use, such as municipal heating and new housing developments, that sort of thing. The temperature thresholds there and flow thresholds are much lower. And Boise, Idaho is a good example of a downtown area that is using geothermal heat to heat the sidewalks. No snow has to be melted by other means in a place like that. So it's a good opportunity here, particularly in the DJ Basin, where oil and gas basins and new land use are cohabitating in a sense.
Great. Well, we really appreciate your appearing before us this evening. And we appreciate hearing the thoughts that you had on this opportunity. Thank you very much, Mr. Burke.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Ms. Larson, do we have Ms. Hackus with us?
We do have Ms. Hackus. I've not yet found Ms. Leithwood, but we'll bring Ms. Joanne Hackus in just a moment.
Good evening, Ms. Hackus. You've been
There we go.
elevated.
Is that working?
We can hear you, yes, and now we can see you, although you're
Okay.
somewhat in a dark room, it looks.
Oh, yeah. Behind me is probably dark. Let me see if I can get a light on. Hang on.
Okay.
That's better.
That is much better.
Thank
Nice to
you,
see
commissioners. Thank you for providing time this evening for several of us to comment about some of the issues that I think are important to our members of the Sierra Club and the Audubon Colorado Council. Those are the groups that I represent. What we're interested in as we look at future applications and for drilling permits is the issue of informed consent. We think it is especially important that homeowners and residents who are within proximity to new well applications are really provided with every means to understand what the impact might be on their lives. We are concerned with some of the things that have gone on recently to provide us some questions about whether informed consent is really being handled effectively. We think it is important that we know for certain that the homeowners in the locations have been directly contacted. And if there are meetings scheduled, we'd really like to know what happened. What happens at the meeting? Are there notes? Has somebody recorded the statements? What were people saying? What determination came out of the meeting? I don't think it is, we don't think it's sufficient just to be told that there was a meeting and everything seemed to be just fine. We'd really like to know more about what happens at that meeting and what the results of the meeting were. We're also concerned about how residents are being contacted. We understand in some cases that homeowner associations are being asked to provide information for their members about the potential for a drilling operation in their near vicinity. Well, I'm a member of a homeowners association, and I know that like many of our groups, most of our members pay absolutely no attention to the notes coming from the homeowners association. I think it is really, we need to be sure that the companies are themselves active in individually contacting nearby residents and not really relying on homeowners associations or perhaps doing that in conjunction with homeowners associations, but making sure that the communications reach everyone and really do make a difference in people's understanding of what might be happening in their immediate vicinity. We know that the impacts of noise, odor, chemicals have profound effects on neighborhoods, and it really is important that people understand what those effects might be. We hope that you will really pursue a vigorous paying attention to what the petitioners for the oil and gas permits are doing to ensure that homeowners are well informed. Thank you very much. I hope that this will make some difference in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hackus. And just to respond briefly, the rules that we adopted on January 15th of 2021 have a much more robust involvement between the operators who are seeking approvals to ensure that folks around their proposed location are indeed noticed. And in certain instances, the rules require these neighborhood meetings that you speak about. The operators have the onus of ensuring that all the appropriate folks from the rules are indeed notified. So I think the rules that we adopted are I think a good job of ensuring some of the concerns that you raised this evening, and just wanted you to be aware of that as you have taken time out of your evening to come speak with us. So thank you for taking your time, and if you have further questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the time to be heard.
Great. Have a nice evening.
You.
All right. The other person that had signed up was Heidi Leithwood, and I'm still not seeing Miss Leithwood in the call. Am I missing her, Ms. Larson?
I do not see Miss Leithwood in the meeting. If you are in the meeting and would like to raise your hand, we will bring you in, Miss Leithwood.
Okay. Why don't we do this? The only other agenda item that we had on the agenda was commissioner comments. So maybe we could turn to commissioner comments, see if anybody has comments for the good of the cause, and then if Ms. Leithwood makes it back into the meeting, she's not made it yet, we can call upon her at the end. So commissioners, do folks desire to have the floor, and do you have comments for us? Commissioner Nanjapa, followed by Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to provide a brief update on the work of the Biological Resources Working Group. I've been helping to facilitate the discussions for this working group, and we've had several meetings now, virtual meetings and discussions. Our primary charge was to better understand the data sources for biological resources and to provide guidance to operators for how to be able to find those data and be able to avoid, minimize, and mitigate impacts on biological resources. And so we have developed, as part of understanding what data sources would be appropriate, we have developed a working definition. And I just want to add the caveat that I know all the commissioners understand, but just for the folks listening, that any definition that would be adopted officially would have to go through a full rulemaking process, which would allow for the robust public comment and parties to be able to weigh in, et cetera. We are not necessarily proposing any particular timing for that type of thing, but we have a working definition. We've identified some data sources, and we're in the process of kind of a bit of a review amongst us and colleagues and with the staff at COGCC. And according to the statement of basis and purpose, we were to have our recommendations prepared by January 15th of 2022. However, that particular deadline is not something that is based in rule. It was just a goal in the statement of basis and purpose. And given that there are actually other reports and deadlines that are coming up on the same day, in speaking with staff, I think we are going to extend the time frame for when we provide a written narrative. However, we will be putting on the agenda on January 12th, our regular weekly meeting, a brief presentation and overview of what we've done, some key recommendations and some highlights, and then we'll release the written report sometime later, probably around the middle of February. The closest to the 15th of February is our evening hearing, as we're having right now. So we'll probably do it in the following week, and that will give everybody, including the staff, a little bit more time to provide input and to be able to review and to be able to flesh that out without feeling crunched with these other overlapping deadlines. So I just wanted to give that update to all of the commissioners and to let you know that we're generally on track, but are just trying to buy a little bit of extra time since we have that leeway. And if there's questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Commissioner Nanjapa, and thank you for your work leading that group. And I also echo the refrain that evidently the wisdom of the commission in these January 15th, 2022 dates was maybe not so wise, and that we put a lot of reports due there. I was speaking with another member of our staff today about that. So I think that's perfectly fine and acceptable. And, you know, I think that the statement of basis and purpose indicates that these dates were, you know, aspirational and just to keep us moving. And obviously everybody's moving. So thanks for your good work there. And we look forward to hearing from you in early January. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to update my fellow commissioners and I guess the public who's listening that I had an opportunity to fill in for Director Murphy at the University of Texas Arlington Oil and Gas Conference yesterday in Houston. I was able to present on kind of the new makeup of the commission and answer some questions about our work here and specifically around mission change and the environmental protections that we put in place during mission change. And I sat on a panel with a remote commissioner from Oklahoma and the director for the New Mexico Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. And so it was a good talk. It was a good discussion. We had some really good questions come our way that we fielded in terms of, you know, environmental justice, in terms of environmental practices and best management practices that we're seeing and that we have either required or encouraged through our rulemaking process. And I just thought it was a really nice discussion and wanted to share that with everybody. If anyone has any questions about about that or about the conference in general, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'd like to thank Jeff and Megan and Julie for their help sending me some materials to help prepare last minute. And I think hopefully we represented Colorado well. And that's about it. It was a good conference and appreciate the opportunity to be there.
Yeah, when we all appreciate your willingness on very last minute to jump on a plane and get down there and represent the state. I know you did a great job. So thanks for the update to everyone concerning that speaking engagement. So appreciate that. Any other commissioners with comments? I've got some comments, but I was going to make sure everybody else is done before I speak. All right, I'm not seeing anybody else. I did want to provide some comments concerning some information that we all learned today from CDPHE concerning an issue involving an oil and gas operation in our state. We wanted to address the information provided by CDPHE regarding a single elevated benzene level found by the Colorado Air Monitoring Mobile Lab, the CAML, they call it. And this single elevated benzene spike was determined on December 11th in unincorporated Weld County. So I wanted to make sure that our listeners and everyone is aware of what CDPHE found. The CAML, again, the measuring device, measured a level of benzene slightly above the health guideline value during community monitoring of oil and gas activity in Weld County last week. It was the only elevated level to occur during more than 400 hours of monitoring at the site. The CAML's location is approximately 600 feet from a Cub Creek Energy pad, the night pad. Again, this is located in unincorporated Weld County. CDP has stated today this measurement does not reflect an immediate health risk to nearby residents, but indicates a need for further investigation. Our staff and the CDPHE have the responsibility, or the CDPHE has the responsibility to regulate Colorado's oil and gas operations to be protective of public health, safety, welfare, the environment, and wildlife resources. And both our commission and CDPHE undertake those obligations. COGCC will continue to support CDPHE in the evaluation of this elevated benzene reading. Today, COGCC sent a team of inspectors to Cub Creek Energy's night site, and they will continue to be available for ongoing support. The inspectors today did not find anything out of compliance with COGCC rules, and our staff will continue to work with the operator. Additionally, I want to point out that the CAML, the Colorado Air Monitoring Mobile Lab, is part of a suite of community air monitoring programs at CDPHE, several of which are supported by COGCC through the Erwin Martinez Fund. We are thankful for these funds to help protect Colorado's public health, safety, welfare, wildlife, and environment. So just wanted to take the opportunity to let folks know that our staff is supporting CDPHE on this issue and are doing the appropriate inspections and continuing to monitor the location. And that's about it. So Ms. Larson, did we ever find Ms. Leithwood? She may have gotten double booked.
Yeah, you know, I'm still not seeing Miss Leithwood.
Okay. All right. Well, that concludes our agenda items for the evening. Does anybody else have anything for the good of the cause? Seeing none, does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are, well, before I say we are adjourned, I just want to send this commission's best wishes out to everybody for the holiday season. This is our last meeting for 2021. We look forward to meeting again in early 2022 and advancing the cause of the commission. We want to thank everybody for their continued interaction with us and involvement. And just wish everybody happy holidays. Stay warm. Don't get blown over. Good night.